Hi student. Today we are going to start the next topic, new topic, topic number 5th of science and technology. The name of the topic is acid, bases and salts. In this topic already we have to study in a 8th standard the meaning of acid and bases. Also in a 7th standard acids, as generally acids are the substances which dissolve the acids are the substances having sour in taste. Acids contain hydrogen ions. When it is tested with the litmus paper, the substance in which with the help of a blue litmus paper, the substance in which blue litmus paper convert into red litmus paper, then the substance is a acid. Then base. The base contain the OH minus ions, and the substance having bitter in taste, they are also known as a basic substance. When it is tested with a litmus paper, red litmus paper convert into blue litmus paper, then the substance is a basic in nature. This already we have to study in a 8th or 7th and 8th standard. So in a 9th standard, in this topic we will study the following points. The first point we have to discuss about the ionic compounds. Ionic compounds, look at this. We know that acid means H plus ions and base means OH minus ions. Acids when acids are tested with a litmus paper, blue litmus paper convert into red. In a base, red litmus paper convert into blue. So we will discuss about the next point in this topic as first ionic compounds. Look at this. Ionic compound. The molecule of ionic compound has a two constituent. Look at this. The molecule of ionic compound has a two constituent. Number first cation and number two anion. Cation means positively charged ion and anion means negatively charged ions. Then how the ionic compounds are formed? The force of attraction between positive charge on a cation and negative charge on an anion to form an ionic bond, to form an ionic compound. The force of attraction between the positive charge of a cation and negative charge of an anion to form an ionic bonds. These are the opposite to each other. Look at this. Also we know that positive cation means positive charge, that is a basic radical. Cations are said to be basic radical. Cations are said to be basic radical. And anions are said to be acidic radical. Acidic radical. Ionic compounds are formed. When ionic compounds are formed, when there is the force of attraction between the positive charge of a cation and negative charge of anion to form ionic bonds, to form ionic compounds. So now these cations and ions are oppositely charged particles, oppositely charged ions to form ionic bonds. Look at this. First example we have to take, we have to give sodium and chlorine. Sodium, atomic number of sodium is 11. Atomic number of chlorine is 17. We have to give the charge on sodium. The symbol of sodium is Na. The charge is plus, positive, and chlorine Cl symbol charge minus. Atomic number of sodium is 11. Electronic configuration of sodium is 281 and electronic configuration of chlorine is 287. When, look at this, when these two elements are combined, when these two elements take part in a chemical reaction, ionic compounds, the compounds are formed. Means in this chemical reaction, sodium loses one electron sodium loses one electron to chlorine. Sodium loses one electron and chlorine accept one electron. So the compounds are formed, and these two elements are in stable. These two elements are in stable, or they have a octet form. They becomes a octet in a state. Octet means the element which containing 8 electron in their outermost orbit. The substance which does not take part in a chemical reaction because they containing 8 electrons in a outermost orbit. So octet state is completed when the sodium loses one electron. Sodium loses one electron to chlorine and chlorine accept one electron. Then the ionic compounds are formed. We get the sodium chloride, which is a ionic compound, because in this ionic compound we give and take of electrons. The chemical reaction in which they give and take of electrons to form ionic bonds. So sodium chloride is ionic compound which is formed from sodium and chlorine. Give and take of electrons are occurred in a chemical reactions. So ionic compounds are formed between the force of attraction between positive charge of a cation and negative charge of anion to form ionic compounds. Then cation means basic radical, anion means acidic radical. First example we have to take sodium having atomic number 11, chlorine atomic number 17. The chemical reaction take place in both elements. The sodium loses one electron. Look at this. Sodium loses one electron and chlorine accept the electron. So the ionic compounds are formed, that is sodium chloride. We have to draw the structure of a sodium and chlorine and how the electronic how the electrons are transferred from sodium and accept the chlorine as. Look at this. Sodium having the atomic number 11. So first orbit containing only 2 electrons. Sodium 2 8 1 electronic configuration sodium. पहिल्या ऑर्बिट मध्ये 2 इलेक्ट्रॉन असतील, सेकंड ऑर्बिट मध्ये 8 इलेक्ट्रॉन आपल्याला म्हणता येईल. 2 4 6 आणि 8 आणि लास्ट ऑर्बिट मध्ये किती असेल 1. देन प्लस क्लोरीन atomic number किती सांगता येईल प्लस 7. atomic number of chlorine is 17. First orbit containing inner orbit containing only 2 electrons, second orbit containing 8 electrons. chlorine चा atomic number 17 आहे, 2 8 आणि 7. sodium 2 8 and 1. So we get second orbit मध्ये 8 electrons and third orbit मध्ये 7. Look at this. आता यामध्ये सोडियम loses one electron. Sodium loses one electron and chlorine accept one electron. Look at this. Sodium atomic number 11, electronic configuration 281. मग सोडियमच्या पहिल्या ऑर्बिट मध्ये 2 इलेक्ट्रॉन, नंतरच्या ऑर्बिट मध्ये 8 इलेक्ट्रॉन, 2 4 6 8 आणि लास्ट ऑर्बिट मध्ये 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन. क्लोरीन फर्स्ट ऑर्बिट मध्ये 2, सेकंड ऑर्बिट मध्ये 8 इलेक्ट्रॉन आणि थर्ड ऑर्बिट मध्ये 7 इलेक्ट्रॉन. So these two elements does not completed the octet state. When they completed their octet state, when there is a transfer, lose and gain of electrons, then both elements have a stable octet position or stable. पहा यामध्ये दोन्ही स्टेबल केव्हा होतील ज्यावेळेस सोडियमने 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन दिला जाईल क्लोरीनला आणि क्लोरीन 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन घेईल त्यावेळेस हे दोन्ही स्टेबल आपल्याला म्हणता येईल. वी गेट द ionic compound or we get the compound. The name of compound is sodium chloride, NaCl. आपला NaCl हा कंपाऊंड या ठिकाणी मिळेल. पुन्हा याचं स्ट्रक्चर याच पद्धतीने आपल्याला काढता येईल. यामध्ये या दोन्ही मध्ये 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन या ठिकाणी आपल्याला कंबाईन दाखवता येईल. यामध्ये फर्स्ट ऑर्बिट मध्ये सेकंड मध्ये आपल्याला सेकंड ऑर्बिट मध्ये 2 4 6 and 8 2 4 6 7 8 आणि यामध्ये आपल्याला सांगता येईल 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन आपला पॉझिटिव्ह 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन घेतलाय सोडियम क्लोराइड हा कंपाऊंड या ठिकाणी मिळेल. याचं स्ट्रक्चर आपल्याला या ठिकाणी दाखवता येईल. गिव्ह अँड टेक ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स वी गेट द सोडियम क्लोराइड. लक्षात घ्या. यामध्ये सोडियम लुजेस 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन and chlorine accept the electron. We get the sodium chloride is a compound. Then ionic compounds. Ionic compounds. How the ionic compounds are formed? The molecule of a compound constituent of a two molecule. Has a two constituents. The molecule of a ionic compound has a two constituent. Number first, cation and anion. Cation means positive charge and anion means negative charge. The force of attraction between positive charge of a cation and negative charge of anion to form an ionic compound. We have to see sodium atomic number 11, chlorine atomic number 17. Sodium loses 1 electron, chlorine accept 1 electron. So give and take of electrons are possible and new compound is formed, that is a ionic compound. So ionic compounds are formed the force of attraction between positive charge and negative charge. Positive charge which are present on a cation and negative charge which are present on a anion. Next point we have to discuss about dissolving salts. Look at this. Dissociation. Next point we have to study as dissociation of ionic compounds. Look at this. Dissociation of ionic compounds. In our textbook we have to see the formation of sodium chloride. Sodium chloride हा ionic compound कसा तयार झाला आता सांगितलेले आपण. याचं इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कॉन्फिगरेशन आपण सांगितलं होतं. सोडियम 281 आणि क्लोरीन 287. Sodium loses 1 electron and chlorine accept 1 electron. We get the sodium chloride with an ionic bond. We have to given the plus and minus charge. Plus charge on sodium and chlorine have a negative charge. Next point we have to discuss about dissociation of ionic compound. Look at this. Some examples we have to given as water and salt, water and sugar, water and sand, water and sawdust. These are the examples are given in which are the substances are mixes completely into the water. या 4 एक्झाम्पल मध्ये कोणते असे उदाहरण आहेत ज्या उदाहरणामध्ये पाण्यामध्ये हे सर्व पदार्थ पूर्णपणे विरघळतात. फर्स्ट सॉल्ट अँड वॉटर. मीठ आणि पाणी एकत्र केलं तर मीठ पाण्यामध्ये पूर्णपणे विरघळतं. सॉल्ट इज कम्प्लीटली dissolved in water. Second example is given water and sugar. पाणी आणि साखर. We know that sugar is completely dissolved in water. साखर पाण्यामध्ये पूर्णपणे विरघळते. Third, water and sand. sand does not completely dissolve in a water. वाळू पाण्यामध्ये पूर्णपणे विरघळत नाही. Sand is set at the bottom of the water. पाण्याच्या तळाशी पाण्याच्या पृष्ठभागाशी तळाशी ही वाळू जी असते ती या ठिकाणी बसणार आहे. वाळू आणि पाणी एकत्र होणार नाही. त्यानंतर वॉटर अँड सॉडस्ट या ठिकाणी आपण जर धूळ घेतली असेल, थोडा धूळ जर घेतली तर धुळीमध्ये जी माती असेल ती माती विरघळेल, पूर्णपणे विरघळणार नाहीये. कचरा जो असेल तो पूर्णपणे पाण्यावर तरंगेल आणि पूर्णपणे डिझॉल्व्ह होणार नाहीये या ठिकाणी. मीन्स शुगर सोल्युशन अँड वॉटर सोल्युशन, these are the two solutions are completely dissolved in water. म्हणजे साखरेचं द्रावण आणि पाण्याचं द्रावण, साखरेचं द्रावण आणि मिठाचं द्रावण हे पाण्यामध्ये पूर्णपणे विरघळेल. मग यामध्ये aqueous सोल्युशन म्हणजे काय हा मुद्दा आपला समजून घ्यायचा आहे. aqueous solution, look at this. Aqueous solution, the substance which completely dissolve in water, then the substance is known as aqueous solution. जो पदार्थ पाण्यामध्ये पूर्णपणे विरघळतो त्या पदार्थाला आपण aqueous solution, जलीय द्रावण असं म्हणता येईल. फॉर एक्झाम्पल salt completely dissolve in water to form salt solution which is aqueous solution. In a short we have to write as a AQ means aqueous solution. The substance which completely dissolve in water, then the substance is called as aqueous solution. Salt completely dissolve in water, we get the salt solution, that is aqueous solution. Look at this, the experiment we have given in our textbook, page number 60. Look at this. Salt in a solid state before dissolving. The salt we have to be given into the water. When we some salts are dissolved in water, these salts are in the crystal form. पहिल्यांदा मीठ पाण्यामध्ये टाकत असताना मीठ जर आपण पाहिलं तर ते क्रिस्टल फॉर्म मध्ये आहे. मग यामध्ये डिझॉल्व केल्यानंतर we get the salt solution, aqueous solution. We have to given the diagram. In this diagram we have to see the salt and water are mixes completely to form the salt solution, that is the aqueous solution of a salt. We get the aqueous solution of salt in which salt is completely dissolved in a water. Next point we have to discuss about Arrhenius theory of acid and bases. Look at this. Arrhenius theory हे समजले. aqueous solution is the substance which completely dissolve in water, then the substance is called as aqueous substance, or then the solution is called as aqueous solution. Salt completely dissolve in water, we get the aqueous solution of a salt. Next, Arrhenius theory of acid and bases. Look at this. Look at this Arrhenius theory. In last session or period we have to discuss about the acid and bases. आपण याच्या अगोदरच्या तासामध्ये ऍसिड आणि बेसेस या संदर्भात माहिती घेतलेली आहे. आता ऍसिड कंटेन H+ आयन्स, बेस कंटेन OH- आयन्स. आता Arrhenius theory of acid and bases. Arrhenius हा जो स्वीडन सायंटिस्ट आहे, या स्वीडन सायंटिस्टनं ऍसिडच्या संदर्भात काही या ठिकाणी टर्म्स डेफिनेशन सांगितलेले आहेत. मग अकॉर्डिंग टू Arrhenius theory of acid and bases, we first we first discuss about the acids. Acid, the substance which completely dissolve in water to give H plus ions and acidic radical and more acidic radical is called as a acid. पहा Arrhenius theory, Arrhenius scientist ना Arrhenius theory यानुसार acid म्हणजे काय, the substance which completely dissolve, the substance which is completely dissolve in a water and give H plus ions and acidic radical is called as acid. जो पदार्थ पाण्यामध्ये पूर्णपणे विरघळतो आणि हायड्रोजन आयन्स या ठिकाणी मिळतात आणि मोठ्या स्वरूपामध्ये ऍसिडिक रॅडिकल्स आपल्याला मिळतात, यालाच आपण त्या पदार्थाला आपण ऍसिड म्हणता येईल. मग डेफिनेशन काय सांगता येईल, द सबस्टन्स which completely dissolve in water and gives H plus ions, that is the cations, which gives cations or positive ions, positive hydroxyl ions and acidic radical are called as acids. These substances are called acids. Example HCl, H2SO4, these are the acid. These substances are completely dissolved in water and gives H plus ions and acidic radicals. हे झालं ऍसिडच्या संदर्भात. नंतर बेस, आता बेसच्या संदर्भात काय सांगता येईल, द सबस्टन्स डेफिनेशन इज, फक्त भर काय, द सबस्टन्स विच completely dissolve in water and rise OH minus ions and basic radical is called base. Look at this. Acid मध्ये काय सांगितले, the substance which completely dissolve in water and rise or give H plus ions. मग याच्या सारखंच बेस म्हणजे काय सांगतात आपल्याला, बेस यामध्ये the substance which completely dissolve in water and rise give OH minus ions and basic radical is called as a base. Example NaOH, KOH, NH4OH, these are the base. So Arrhenius theory of acid and bases explain that acid, the substance which completely dissolve in water and rise H plus ions and acidic radical is called as acid. Example HCl, hydrochloric acid, and H2SO4 means sulfuric acid. Number 2, bases, the substance which completely dissolve in water and rise or give the OH minus ions and gives basic radical is called as a base. Example NaOH, sodium hydroxide, KOH, potassium hydroxide, NH4OH, these are the some bases. So राहिलेला जो भाग असेल तो आपण नंतरच्या तासामध्ये पूर्ण करू.